Okay, looks like we're pretty much all set. So let's get the show on the road. Let's go. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome back to my stream. I'm Pierre, your host. I hope you're all doing okay today. I know that I am. I'm anxious to get to work. So let's start off like we always do. Let's just go over quickly to the computer, look at a quick 20-second recap of what we did yesterday, and then we'll start our day from there. That sounds good, doesn't it? So what did we do yesterday? Well, actually, we added colors to all our plants. That's basically what we did for a couple of hours. And so we switched back and forth from all these little plants and added some greens and some yellows and some turquoise, some purple. Anyways, very good, very good. It looks beautiful, Pierre. It looks beautiful. So what are we going to do today? So we're going to actually just try to finish this whole area by adding the details to these plants. Basically, what we did yesterday was the background for most of them. So we're going to do that. Let's try to finish this off, and then we'll probably put the first coat down to our Zen Rebel-Devil guy. So let's get to work. So I'm going to try to start off on this upper left-hand corner and work my way down to the bottom right-hand side. Like that, being right-handed, I'm sure I won't put my hand in the paint since it's a very reduced and small area, which I'm really not used to painting that many details in such a small area. As you can tell, I prefer painting on a larger scale. So anyways, let's not waste any time. I'm going to start off then with this top plant up here, and I might as well just bring over camera number 1 right away since everything is going to happen basically up in that area. So I'll just bring that over like this. And like I was just showing you in a few seconds ago, basically I'm going to start off up here with this top plant right here, and then I'm going to go and add details on the left-hand side and kind of just work my way down this way. So on this top plant, I am just going to try to reuse some of these colors from yesterday. They're not quite completely dry. I think just by adding a little bit of water, I should be able to get another day's work out of them. Hard to believe, actually. Maybe it's the cold that preserves it or something overnight. I'm sure if we were in the summertime, it would be already hard as rock, already dried and evaporated. So let me just work this. You know, I really don't need much. I don't have much of a surface to do, just these little details which hopefully are going to make my plants look a lot better. So I revived the green, which seems to look pretty good, and just give it a few more jabs and twirls and pokes to make sure it's nice and creamy. And then I'm just going to add maybe a little bit of black paint to it. Well, actually, I have some black paint from yesterday. Now, how is that? Can I squeeze a little bit out of that? Ugh, let me just put my brush in there. And I think I can. So go back to the green area, add a little bit of this black, and let's see if I can't get a dark green. And it looks like it's working. I don't want it to be too dark, though. Well, that seems to be working out very nicely. What I'm going to have to do, though, is get a very thin paintbrush. We are going into some really small stuff here. So let me pick a really small paintbrush here. Maybe something like this guy right here. I have quite a bit of small brushes, so it shouldn't be a problem. I'll just check very quickly. Since I don't really use these small brushes all that often, I kind of forgot which ones I have. Here's another one that might be even better, just a little bit bigger. So maybe I'll try this slightly larger one. And if not, I'll just go back to the smaller, thinner brush. So just wet this for a few seconds. The brush is so small, it's not going to take long for it to get wet. And I'll actually even get rid of some of the excess water off my brush. I will zoom in with the camera number one a little bit more. There we go. And I'll switch over and let's get to work. So, where's my dark green paint? There it is. So, what's this going to look like? There we go. All right. So far, so good. And this does look like it's just the right size paintbrush. Got a little too much paint there. Okay. There we go. I have to concentrate a little bit right there. Okay, very good. Very good. So we got that done. Now what? I'm just going to put a little bit of green highlights on my vines there. So basically, maybe I can just use this lighter green that I was using a few seconds ago before I added the black paint to it. I'm just really going to just put some highlights. I really, again, don't need very much paint. Let's see if this works. So I'll just switch back to camera number one again. And we'll check this out. There we go. Just adding a little bit of highlights to all this. Okay, and I'll worry about this. I'll come back to this later. As I mentioned, I do want to just kind of stay with the left-hand side of my painting. So we're just going to move over and then we're going to tackle that plant right there. But first, I have to make the right paint, right color. And for that, I'm going to go with that same green, but this time I'm going to make it a little bit lighter. So I'll be adding white paint to it. So where's my knife? Right here. Everything going okay on my computer? Downloading is going no problem. That's the main thing. Okay, very good. So a little bit of this dark green, which I'll be adding some white to it. And I have 2 plants. I'm just trying to figure out the quantity that I need. And again, there's so little of a surface to do that I really don't need that much paint, which is fine by my wallet. Okay, so we got that together. Now what do I need? My white paint. And we're going to just do basically the same thing we did with that other plant, except that instead of going darker, we're going to go lighter with our details. So let's clean off the materials, our knife first. There we go. We'll be needing this in a few seconds, and we don't want to mix all the paints together. What's this? Oh, a little paintbrush that fell out of and an important paintbrush as well, so I definitely do not want to lose that baby. So, again, I'm going to use the little larger brush to mix the paint. And you know what? Why don't we do this on camera number 1? So I'll bring it down over here. I'll zoom back. I'll bring it down. And I will mix this with you guys right here. Let me just switch over. There we go. So there's the dark green right there. And there's the white paint. So I'm just going to blend these 2 guys together. So let's get this here. Let's bring some of this white paint in here. Just like that. It's really thick right there, so I'm going to be adding quite a bit of water. I think that's nice and creamy so it flows on the canvas really the way it should. Add just a little bit more of that green, dark green. I don't want this to be too dark. And I want this to be nice and creamy, so I'm just going to work this, blend this in. I need so little of this but at the same time, I want all this to be nice and homogeneous as well. So that looks pretty good right there, doesn't it? Okay, so let me get rid of the excess paint that's on my brush. Let's bring everything together here. There, that looks pretty good. So let's bring the camera back up again. I'm going to move it a little bit closer. And we're going to zoom in to our little jungle scene right in there. And we're going to go back to this plant right here. There we go. So, got that done. Now, what paintbrush am I going to use? Well, I guess the same, seeing that everything is the same size, I guess I'm going to use the same paintbrush I used for the other plant. Checking it out for a second. And that looks pretty good. So let's go back to camera number 1 and let's add our details. Go. All right. So how does that look? Good, don't you? Go. All right. Add some. So how's that look? That looks okay, doesn't it? I think so. So let's move on to this next plant, which is basically the same colors. Oops, I had a little twirl of the camera. So let me pull this back for this one. There we go. Just like that. It is really very odd painting something like this size. I'm not in a while since I painted on such a small scale. Guess I should have painted the vine on top of that, but oh well. Way it goes. It's a challenge. Another challenge, no big deal. But when the paint, like now, isn't flowing the way it should, there we go. Giving me a hard time, there we go. Insist though, I want to add more water to it, so. There we go. I will add just a tiny drop of water. There we go. Okay, very good. Look at that baby. A little bit here, and a little swirl right in here. Okay, that looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. And you know what? I'm going to go back and add that light green to my vine like we did before. Right in here a little bit. Just a little bit of light green like that. Just give it some highlights. You know, kind of details that nobody will ever see except us. So, very good. So now what? Now where do we go from here? Well, we're going to go and I guess tackle these guys right here. So, tackle that magenta. Okay, so let me put a little bit of magenta on my palette. I have some from yesterday, but it's that dried already quite quickly. So I will just add a little more to our palette. Not really sure what to do here. Maybe I'll go with a darker and then add some lighter highlights to it. I'm not sure. I'm not exactly sure what to do. Again, I'm going to grab this brush here and just get the right consistency of our magenta paint. I mean, it just works so much better when you can put the paint down as though it was ink, you know, it just flows on the canvas. Just makes everything so much easier. So I just have to kind of blend in some water and just work it for a few seconds to get that nice creamy, but not too thick consistency of our paint. That looks pretty good, except I think it's just a little thick. So I'm going to add another big fat drop of water and just take another 30 seconds to blend this. There we go. That looks pretty good right now. And then I'm going to move a little bit, half of it, or not even, to the side. And I'm going to add some white paint and blend that in so we have a range of this magenta to play with. So let me just move some of that over to the side. There we go. Again, I will clean off my knife before I do anything else. There we go. So everything going okay here with the stream? Yes. Okay, uploading at 49K per second. It's perfect. And no drop frames. Very good. So let me just get back into mixing it. So should I go? Let's go back. Okay, I'll just turn the camera back over here for a second. And just show you again what I'm doing on my palette. So here's the magenta that I just did a few seconds ago, and here's the white paint that I put. I'm just going to add that white paint to this, to the side here. Make it really light, lighter than what we have on the canvas. I'm not sure we're going to use this. It's just to have the option. Nice little pink there. You know, maybe we'll use that just to do like a little highlight on the leaf. There we go. So, see, there's a little pink right there, and then the magenta, which we're going to use for the details, I think. So, that said, let's move the camera over again to the side. I'm moving it. It's a little distorted, but I'm doing that because I don't want to be in front of the lens, of course. I can't stand being in front of the lens. So I always offset the camera a little bit to the side and then just kind of zoom in for the close-up like that. I don't have to be in front. Okay, so that said, again, can I use the same thin paintbrush? Or is it really too thin? Well, so far it seemed to have worked out pretty good, so maybe I'll use that then. Maybe I will use that. So let's go back to our magenta. Let's go back to camera number 1. Let's see what we can do with this. I was just going to use this to highlight everything on the edges. Just like that. Just like that, just a little bit like that. And this is where I was going to use that lighter pinkish or the lighter magenta for the highlights, which is a pain in the neck with all the reflection of the light, the wetness. It really makes it difficult to see. There's nothing I can do about that, is there? So, there we go, just like that, just a little bit. And I guess I'm going to just add a little darker right there. So that is basically what we're doing. I know with the reflection of the light on the wet paint, it doesn't make it all that obvious to see. There's really nothing I can do about that. I tried turning off the overhead light. Didn't necessarily help, so anyways. Let's move on to these. Can I do these plants or am I going to get in trouble? I think I can do these now and then eventually just work on these without really getting in the way. So let's do that then. Just like that. Anyways, there's going to be the outline to the thumb here. So all this is going to be hidden anyways. I don't know why I'm worried so much about that. I guess just not really thinking ahead, which I should be doing. There we go. Again, this you'll never see it. I don't know why I'm doing it. I guess just because I simply can't help myself. Then let's just add a little bit of these lighter highlights in pink. There we go. Okay, so boom. Let's go back to our center palm tree right there. That was what? The light green with some of the black that we used earlier. So that was right in this area of my palette. I'm not sure I have enough here. Might have to make a little bit more. Oh yes, this was the paint from yesterday that I kind of reused. Okay, so I'm just going to work that. Work that with some water. I'm sure I'll be able to bring it to a nice consistency where it will flow on the canvas the way it should. Add a little bit of black paint from yesterday that's not quite dry yet. Look at all this money that I'm saving. At least 2 cents worth of paint. Maybe not even that. So I just got to work this, probably add another drop of water so it flows better. There we go. I'm going to just take a few seconds and work this and work this and work this. Doesn't look too bad. I'm just going to add a little bit more black. It will darken as it dries, but still, I want it to be slightly darker. Have it a nice dark green. There, that looks pretty good. And again, we're going to be using that same paintbrush, I guess. So far, we've gotten away with it. Okay, very good. So let me just step back for a second. Yes, that looks so much better. So much better. I think when all this is going to be done, we'll add a few clouds in here and they'll look super. I'm going to just go over here and grab a sip of water though. Oh, that is good. That is good. Okay, so. All right, back to our plant. The camera seems to be okay. I'll switch it then to camera number 1. Hopefully, I won't be in the way of the lens. I think I have a little too much water on my brush, so I'm just going to wipe it off. There we go. All right. Yesterday, I tried shutting off the overhead light to get rid of this glare, but then I had the glare from the window. So, unfortunately, the glare is not just from the light above, but it's also from the light on the side, and there's nothing I can do about that. No way in the world I'm going to paint in the dark, right? All right, very good, very good. Okay, I think the next guys we got to do is, as we said, working from left to right. We'll get these guys and do a light color like we had above. So, and if I'm not mistaken, I still have some of that paint left. Right over here, maybe it needs another shot of water just to there we go. A little shot of water to get it to so everything flows better. There we go. Let's work this for a few seconds. Oh, this looks pretty good. There, that looks all right. And again, I guess we'll use this same brush again. So let's go and deal with this. I was looking over, like, if I'm staring at it like this, will it have that same amount of glare as if I'm looking like this? And absolutely. I have lights of, I was going to say 360 degrees, but not really, but 180 degrees of light. So no matter where I stand, we are going to have the glow and the glare of the light. So there is really nothing I can do about it. So anyways. Just wanted it to be a little bit better for everybody, but that won't be the case. So let's bring things down like this. I'll switch over to number 1 again, and let's go for it. There's a little bit of white mixed in with my green paint that wasn't totally blended in, but you know what? It looks pretty good, so I'm fine with that. Actually, it looks sometimes you do have a little bit of luck. There we go. There we go. Hoopla. Very cool. Now what? Now our orange plants. Orange babies. So I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do there, but first things first, let's get the orange paint on the palette, and then we can decide, do we go light or do we go dark? Or do we do both? So let me just get the orange paint on the palette somewheres, right there. Again, gonna work it first with some water, just to, again, get the right consistency on this paint, which is pretty thick, I must say. Okay, keep churning and turning. I put a lot of paint there, really. I'm never going to need that much. Especially that I'm not even sure what I'm going to do. Should I add a little red to it? Or a little bit of white? Right now, I'm just trying to get it to be in a nice, consistent, creamy texture. That looks pretty good. So why don't I put a little bit on the side here and add some of this darker magenta to it. See what happens there if I mix these together. What happens? Will I make the orange a little darker? So far, I must say yes. It does make it a little bit darker. I'm not really sure. How am I going to use this? I just want to use it kind of like a shading process on half of the leaf, and then I was thinking of going with some yellow and making highlights out of yellow. I'm not sure. I'm going to try it though. Why not? Just a little bit like that. I'll zoom in more on the yellows. There we go, on the orange plants, and let's switch over and take a look. Hopefully this will look all right. Honestly, you can't see the difference. Barely see the difference of what I just did. So I'm going to leave that like that, and I'm going to go with my Azo medium yellow and just do some highlights with that maybe. That's all I need. Maybe that's all I need, so. Right, just like that. A little bit of yellow. That looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. And then we just have our last little plants right here. So we'll go back to our dark green, which we made plenty of, so that's pretty good. Tricky, gonna have to go in here, do some like intricate brain surgery almost. There we go. Again, I'm doing an area which probably will never see because I'll have the black outline to my paint. It's totally stupid what I'm doing, but there we go. Make more sense over here. right like that. And let's get our last few leaves here. Right in here. That looks pretty good. How does all this look now? Okay, it doesn't look too bad. I was going to leave these purple plants the way they were, but now I think I'm just going to highlight them just a little bit with some darker purple. I mean really just a little bit. Right down here on the edge, I'll zoom in a little bit more so we can see exactly what I'm going to be doing. We can maybe just putting a lower okay. Spray that up, can I? Just like that. And I saw somewhere where I needed just a little bit of green in the background. And I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to go over here, fix just a little bit. So, what does that look like? Okay. There we go. So, is that going to do it for now or not? Okay, not bad at all. So I'm going to pull this guy back here, camera, and I'm going to get maybe some gray paint and add the first coat to our guy here. I'm sure I'll need 2 coats, so if we can get the first coat in tomorrow, second coat in tomorrow, and then work on the frame. Well, I was hoping to finish by Friday, but now I'm not that confident. Not that sure we'll be able to do that. So let me get this. Let me get the gray paint first here done. And there we go. We're going to need quite a good amount, not that much really. Where's my cap? Here it is. And let me get the brush out of the way here. Don't want to forget to wash those brushes though today. There we go. Clean off my spoon. Let me grab some black paint. I'm not exactly sure what tint of gray we want. Guess we'll figure that out in a few seconds. Don't want to go too dark. I want to start off with the lighter gray and then go to the darker gray afterwards. So, and again, this is one of those situations where if I don't get the right tint on the first try, it doesn't matter because I have that second coat tomorrow and we can either lighten it or darken it tomorrow to get it the way we want. Again, because like usual, this has a tendency to darken as it dries. So what paintbrush am I going to use? I guess one of these two, I would think. So let me put that away. So let's go for this. And I'm going to start off with the whiter, lighter gray. I'm going to step over here for a second. And I'm going to light up some incense. Just saw this piece of incense that I had from the corner of my eye that I totally forgot about, which I like kind of lighting once in a while. Always smells kind of nice. Have a nice smell while you're working. There we go. And it smells already nicer in here. This is going to take a few seconds to blend this in and get the right tint. There we go. Don't do this quickly. Now I'm working back on a large surface, and I can go back into what I like doing the most is working quickly and making big gestures, working like that. I just love that. So this looks pretty good. So let me just bring this over to the side again so I'm not in front of the lens. And let's start off with the head first. I'm going to start off with the nose. And I'm going to grab a slightly smaller brush for that. Very good. All right. Then this part here, we're going to start off like right in here. Kind of go all the way around. Just like that. Paint is really thick though. Now, does that mean I won't need a second coat? Not at all. And I'll get back to that smaller brush as we are working our way through the arm and the hand and whatnot. Just like that. Just a little bit of water again. Oh, very good. Here. Ladder. Just the first coat. Very good. And we'll get the little horns. Just like that. All right. So there is our lighter gray. Okay, so let's get to the darker gray. I usually wait for the light gray to be dry before I do the dark gray, but I don't know. I feel like we should move along quicker. So I'm going to definitely do that dark gray right now. Hopefully it won't be a mistake. So let's, again, add a little bit of white paint and some black paint and see what we have. So a lot less of a surface to paint. So I won't need as much paint for that. Black paint in there. So let's blend this and see what that does if we get it be a little bit of a shade darker. There we go. There we go. Again, if this isn't dark enough, we can make it a lot darker tomorrow when we put down the second coat. Let's see what we have though first. Oh, this looks pretty good, right? It's going to be darker. Almost like too thick though. Let me just add a little bit of water to this. I have some control over the whole thing. So, let me see, where is our camera? There we go. So, back to camera number 1. There we go. Let me just Get around the eyeballs here. Very good. There we go. Again, we'll have to see if we need a second coat. I say that every time. I'm trying to be as optimistic as possible that we can get things done with one coat. And then the next day when I walk in the studio, I realize like, needs a second coat. So that's why I hate being too optimistic, because I'm always disappointed. So. There we go. And this paint is thick. That is some thick coat of paint right there. There we go. Right? That looks pretty good. I don't know why I'm going to do what I'm going to do, but I'm just going to do it anyways. Let's just add a little bit of gray right in there. And there. Did I have to do that? Absolutely not. Let me step back and see what this looks like. Okay, so that looks all right. There we go. So, this is what our painting looks like. So far, today's work. So let's start off with the zoom of our inner jungle. Right there. So that is the first part of what we did. And then I'll pull the camera back so we have a view from back here of the full painting, just to have an idea. And I'll do the same with camera number 2 right here. Get another shot, another view of the painting. Something like that. So there's the view from camera number 2. And then there's number 2. And like I just showed you a few seconds ago, there's camera number 1. And that brings us to the conclusion of today's session. So, my friends, thank you very much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. So it's starting to take shape. And tomorrow we'll see if we need a first or second coat. Then we can start adding the details to all this. I can tell already here in the lighter gray that I can see my brush strokes. So I'm pretty sure we'll need a second coat of gray paint. When we do the second coat, then we can add the little details that need to go in this area right here. But we'll worry about that tomorrow. And then all we'll have left to do is outline our little jungle area, outline our person, and then all we have to do is work on the frame. So hopefully by Monday we'll have this done. I would have loved to have finished this by Friday. Maybe we can, we'll see. I kind of doubt it, but you never know. It's always a question of how quickly the paint dries. That's what's going to depend everything. So anyways, my friends, I'm going to leave you like usual with 2 things. The first one is my schedule, which is pretty simple. It's every day at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. And the other thing I'm going to leave you with is simply by saying, ciao mes amis.